All right, now to the political reality here in this province. Premier Doug Ford confirming last week he will go to Lieutenant Governor this week and throw us into an election. The latest numbers from Liason Strategies out this morning find that the Ontario Liberals under Bonnie Crombie appear to be closing the gap with Premier Ford and the PCs, albeit these numbers don't reflect Ford's announcement from Friday in Brampton. Let's break down the numbers more, though, with David Valentin, principal at Liason Strategies. David, thanks for coming in this morning to release some of these numbers here. What is your headline take from this poll that you've just conducted over the weekend?
My headline is that the early election call is influencing numbers for now and not in the direction that Premier Doug Ford wants. We've been seeing ever since the new year, week after week after week, more early election speculation and also the Ontario Liberals going up week over week over week to the point that they've gained so much now that it's outside the margin of error. And they're gaining consistently in regions that are important to them, Northern Ontario, the 905, and the city of Toronto.
The big thing is, though, that the play seems to be, you know, if Doug Ford can sort of be on one side, but then have the Liberals and New Democrats kind of split the difference, that he can kind of run up the middle and win another majority. What does your poll show about terms of like what the vote split may be? Because I think that's really going to be the important factor in a month from now.
Well, what we're seeing right now is the Liberals are ahead in Toronto. So the PCs are looking to lose a few seats in Toronto at the moment. Their lead in the 905 region, Brampton, Mississauga, Newmarket, York region, Durham, their lead there is narrowing as well. It's down now to 6 points. It used to be a lot larger. So they're looking now that they're going to lose some seats to 905. Northern Ontario, they hold seats. Liberals are ahead of them and the NDP. The PCs are actually in third. So the Liberals are probably going to get some seats back that they used to hold in Northern Ontario, maybe the Thunder Bay seats. Those are going to be interesting to keep an eye on. At the same time, you've got the NDP and the Conservatives trading places in South Central Ontario, in Hamilton and Niagara. A lot of seats there that are important for the NDP to defend, seats there that are important for the PCs to defend as well. So we're seeing regionally the situation is very different depending on what part of the province you're looking at. It's going to be an interesting election.
So, David, is your sense that people are seeing this as, or interpreting this as a sort of rush to grab more power for 4 years rather than potentially risk what may be down the line once the Trump tariffs come into effect and that sort of thing?
I think so, because we haven't seen that much activity from the opposition parties in a concerted fashion. The only thing we've sort of seen that's been consistent week after week is just more information about the early election. So I think it's definitely a driver. And I'll point out, you know, in Nova Scotia, the Premier just did this early election call, divided the NDP and the Liberals. They came pretty much even Steven when it came to the vote count and the actual election. But they were able to cruise up the middle, right, and gain the majority of seats because the opposition was split. Yeah.
Is your sense that all three parties are equally prepared for this upcoming campaign? I mean, we know the PCs, for example, had a big weekend sort of, you know, get together where they were, you know, talking about marketing, talking about campaign, talking about points. But we know the other parties are still scrambling to fill some of their seats.
I don't think the PCs are the ones choosing the timing. They've known all along what day it's going to be. They've got the most money, right? And so the opposition parties have been raising some dollars, but they're obviously in a very different position. That being said, we're about to face the Ontario Elections Act, which is going to, you know, provide some sense of equilibrium. Introduce spending limits. So the disparity between the PCs and the other parties in terms of spending has actually never been better for them in the pre-election period, because there has been no limit, no constraints. Now those constraints are coming in. Gives the opposition parties a chance to catch up.
Yeah, that's going to go away as of Wednesday. The surge from the Liberal side, did you see this coming last year, like in terms of where your polling was? Because you said they're up 6 points already in 2025. Did that trend begin, or if it did, where?
It really began at the beginning of the year. And I think two things that are really important happened. One is the Prime Minister announced he was resigning. He's leaving later on in the year. And the second is, I think we saw real definite signals that the early election was coming. I think the Prime Minister leaving probably erase some of the confusion for voters. You know, is Bonnie Crombie federal? Is Justin Trudeau provincial? And of course, we saw PC ads trying to tie the two of them together, right? And now, you know, week after week after week, we've seen more confirmation this election is coming. Some people may not be very happy with that, but that being said, unlikely it's going to be the big issue of the campaign.
Okay, we'll see. Interesting set of numbers on the cusp of a campaign. David Valentin from Liason Strategies, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate the time this morning.